stand for a moment of silence and pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Chair Spall,
Here.
Vice Chair Dr. Jones,
Here.
Mrs. Seibert,
Here.
Mrs. Stevens, Mrs. Brescia, Ms. Brown,
Here.
Ms. Miles.
Here.
Thank you. Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
No, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Newman. Okay, is there a motion to approve the public meeting agenda?
Madam Chair, I move that the school board of the city of Manassas approve the public meeting agenda as presented.
Second. Okay, I have a motion by Ms. Seibert, seconded by Ms. Miles, that we approve the public meeting agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Nice little homey group we've got here tonight. Not homely. Okay. So I think we move now to our proposed business, which is implicit bias training, provided to us by Dr. Eric Brent. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you. Good evening, Chair Spall and members of the school board. Thank you very much for having me to be a part of this conversation. This culturally responsive and equitable practices conversation. Our focus will be implicit bias. Can't thank you enough for taking the lead on this. We've had conversations to say this culturally responsive and equitable practices. This is a standard. This is a professional standard for all our employees, educators, and commonwealth. So we've had these conversations for some time. Had it with our certified and classified employees at the school level. Had them at the central office. We met with every single department to have these conversations. We met with the executive cabinet as well. We had a focus group and first semester of students to give great feedback. Love feedback from students. Love feedback from students. They have to be a part of this conversation. This is why we do this work. And a focus group of parents. So to have the school be a part of this, I'll take it. Very much appreciate it. Because we do it for every single child of our doors. Every single one. We do it for our staff, for supporting and teaching our kids. These conversations are very important. They're not always easy, but they're very important. As I say to each group, I always start off with a trait. I like to say a conversation, because your voice is on. With every conversation, I have an opportunity to learn. I hope you all have an opportunity. How we do better, how we move forward to make sure we provide for every single child within our system and our system. So today, learning opportunity. We have an opportunity to engage in a candid conversation to challenge us and frame our thinking. Okay? I always say there's no one in the room that has all the answers. There's no one in the room that has all the answers. But together, continue to work to find the right answers as we move forward. We're going to explore how we self-assess and how that might influence our decisions as we move forward. And then we have an opportunity to examine our current systems and practices as a team, as a division, etc. I always like to set the tone, set the stage for these types of meetings. Okay. Safe space, brave space at 3 minutes. Okay. We ask every single to keep these keep in mind as we're having conversations throughout. Okay. Give and receive welcome. I want to be welcoming to your thoughts. And I want you to think I'm welcoming your thoughts as well. Listen and speak with an open mind and heart. Be curious before being critical. Ask questions for seeking clarity with the understanding that there may not always be a definitive answer. Please keep that. Okay. Embrace discomfort and be brave. You might have experienced some imbalance or uncertainty when you have these type of conversations. That's normal. That's normal. Because you're constructing new understanding. Respect yourself and others by actively listening and do not discount your lived experiences. Okay, we can all come from different places. That's fine. That's fine. We put all those things into the table, come up with the best decision on how to move forward. And the last one, be you. Speak the truth and bring your authentic self to the table. Okay? Please be you in a respectful way. It's important to keep everyone at the table. Over the years, you often hear someone come up and say, wow, I can't believe you done that, etc., etc. Why would you want that person back? I want that person back. I want that voice at the table. It's important. You know why we need that voice at the table? Because they're working with for our kids. And what I always hope for with every conversation is that they're in a better place next time we have a conversation. In terms of working for our kids. Our goals for today, I promise I will not read every slide to you. When you have something you want to share or whatever is important, you can feed on that. All right. This is the goal for the conversation today. Our focus is implicit bias, but we're just going to touch on a definition of explicit bias this week. Okay. We're going to recognize processes and how it may impact our processes and team dynamics. And then identify the practices and actions to interrupt bias if they should share its faith, come to surface, etc. Information, I've been doing this for some time, and so the information you will hear today comes from a number of places: the University of Southern Mississippi, University of Colorado, the University of Pittsburgh. The agenda you have. Any questions about the agenda? Okay. I promise you, not just hear my voice. Okay. And I promise I'll find ways to get you involved. Sometimes it's just an activity. I hope you're willing to take a little walk with me.
Sure.
And I'll explain the walk afterwards. Explain it beforehand. But you may not walk with me. All right. If we could just go just on across the back of the room. It's a little icebreaker. And I know you heard a lot of stories about the kids we've had over the years, things that they've overcome, challenges they've had in life, the great things that they have achieved, etc. And so it's always important for me to get an idea of of the individuals in the room. Okay, so this is, we don't have to talk, I'm gonna read. This is the iceberg. Okay? If you could just listen to a statement that I make and follow the instruction given. For example, when I read, if you have someone to the right, please take one step forward or move forward. You have someone. Okay. Now.
I don't have anybody to The other way. You know, I'm a real
I'll
follower.
take baby steps.
Okay.
You have 26
Okay.
steps.
All
right.
Okay, let's start again.
All right, so let's start again.
Yeah, just
We're gonna start again with the activity. Okay? And then I'll explain it afterwards. Okay? If one, and again, there's gonna be, there's some triggers when you have conversations like this. And so this focuses and just bias. So the triggers are bias, stereotypes, discrimination, and another trigger would be maybe past experiences. This activity really focusing on your child, let's say, to age 21.
Okay.
To give us an idea of who's in the program.
All
Okay? If one or both of your parents graduated from a university, please take one step forward. Make sure you have one. Okay. If you were impacted by divorce, take one step backwards.
It can't go
Start over?
You remember that.
So I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
you went back.
I can do it.
Can you-
Should I?
We're on the same.
Let's
we're-
start.
Yeah.
Can we start over very quick?
Yeah, let's start
Everyone
here.
come to this level.
Okay, so this is like you. Because like we have nowhere to
Okay,
go.
so.
All right, let's go back to the university. If you have both parents that graduated, take one step forward.
Did you say one or both?
Yes,
One or two.
one or both. One or both. Okay, if you were impacted by divorce, take one step back.
Baby steps.
Okay, did I take two big?
Yes.
Okay. If your household employed helpers such as gardeners, cooks, or nannies, please take one step forward.
I was like, which one of us did that?
If you had access to transportation, if you had a car in the family, please step forward. If you felt included among your peers at work, please take one step forward.
You said birth to 21?
Yes,
I wasn't birth.
Yeah.
that's fine. You stay still if it doesn't apply.
Yes.
If you constantly felt unsafe walking alone at night, please take one step back. That's all. If your family ever fled its homeland, take one step back. If you studied your ancestors and their history in elementary school, take one step forward. If your family had health insurance, take one step forward. If you have ever been bullied or made fun of based on something you cannot change, such as your gender, ethnicity, physical feature, age, or sexual orientation, take one step back.
I'm gonna end up in the community something.
If your work or school holidays coincided with religious or cultural holidays that you celebrated, please take one step forward. Christmas. If you were ever offered a job because of your association with a friend or family member, please take one step forward. If you were ever stopped or questioned by the police because they felt you were suspicious, take one step back. If you and your family have ever inherited money or property, please take one step forward. If you came from a supportive family environment, please take one step forward. If one of your parents was ever laid off or unemployed, not by choice, please take one step back. If there was ever a time in your life when you needed to skip a meal or you were hungry because there was not enough money to buy food, take one step backwards. If you have a visible or invisible disability, such as difficulty hearing, please take one step backwards. If you were ever uncomfortable about a joke or statement you overheard related to your race, ethnicity, gender, appearance, or sexual orientation, please take a step backwards. If your ancestors were forced to move to another country, take one step backwards. If you would never think twice about calling the police when trouble occurs, take one step forward. If you took out a loan for your education, take one step backwards. If you had a romantic partner, if you and your romantic partner can appear as a couple in public without fear of ridicule or violence, please take a step forward. If there was ever substance abuse in your household, please take a step backwards. If your parents told you that you could be anything you wanted to be, please take a step forward. One step. Okay. This really helps me understand the players in the game. Now, I just ask, as a team, you just turn around. Don't move, just turn around. See? We all come from different places. We all have different experiences. And there's times when teams work together and know very little about one another. Or understand why someone may respond a certain way. So let's think about our kids. They come from different places, all over the place. But we still have a responsibility to make sure we maximize their potential. Okay? Maximize their potential. Don't leave it yet. And there are times, maybe at the top of the class, all of our kids, if they're here, we want them to go here. If they're here, we want to bring them further up to maximize their potential. Sometimes that kid at the very top may not need a lot of resources to get to where he or she needs to be. That's fine. That's okay. But we want to make sure they get there. Okay? So they may need just $5 for a cup of coffee. And they get them where they need to be if they're head of class. Okay? But then we have kids that have different experiences, different backgrounds, different challenges, may need more. We should identify what those needs are to make sure they have that to maximize their potential. That is our responsibility in public education. And so, yes, we may give them a little more, but we give them more to maximize their potential as well. We're understanding where they're coming from, what their needs are, and we're trying to identify the things that are needed. And it may be a little more, which is fine. So you may need $10 for a cup of coffee, okay? Which is fine,
Yes, I do. Starbucks.
okay? And I'm just, that's at the bookends, but there's funding here. There's support here. There's supplies here. There's material. Same here and same here. And that's why these conversations are so important. And even when someone doesn't want to have that conversation, it's still important to keep them at the table to get to a place and understand our purpose. Thank you so much.
Great exercise.
Is that the walk you were
Can we
talking
do
about?
that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That's the
All
one
right.
we're talking
Yes, it is.
I just think it's
Congrats.
So it's just so important that we don't assume. We don't make assumptions about people or circumstances or situations. We make sure we do the work to find out what's important. And so we've had these conversations for the past few years because it's important to build a collaborative workforce or environment. So you will often hear Dr. Newman or Mr. Capella have these conversations with staff. I will always remind them of these things. And this is why we have these conversations. This is the work we need to do. Doesn't mean we're gonna always agree, but we should feel respected, valued, and empowered to be a part. Different perspectives are sought, acknowledged, and considered. And it doesn't mean we're gonna do what you said, but we're gonna hear you as we're coming to a decision, and then we'll give you the why in terms of why we did not go in your direction. Again, taking a look at other norms and assumptions. Start identifying this biases we focus on today about other people on our team within MCPS. Can someone finish that for me? Because when we assume, this tends to happen. When it comes to people and circumstances or situation. Rumors have a tendency to lead to, anyone finish that for me? I'm sorry, ma'am.
Miscommunication.
Miscommunication.
Distrust.
Distrust, yes, ma'am.
Flaring up.
Marrying up.
Exclusion.
Exclusion, exclusion, yes.
I was thinking about spread, because people spread rumors. They don't spread the truth, it's gonna be spread.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Which create and can create a negative workspace,
Yeah.
work environment. And we say, hey, we're pretty diverse. But being diverse doesn't mean we're inclusive. That means we're diverse. Okay, our focus is explicit bias. Let's just take a look at the definition of bias. Promise not to agree to. Often hear the word bias, we often think of something negative, which is true, but there are some positive biases as well. And we know there are two, conscious and the unconscious. Conscious is the explicit, the unconscious is the implicit. And we say conscious bias, at its extreme, is characterized by overt negative behavior that can be expressed through physical or verbal harassment. And we do know that the implicit operates outside the person's awareness, unconscious bias. Do we all have bias?
Yes.
Some have told me no. And I have told them they're wrong. Because we do. We all have bias. For many reasons. We're going to talk about this. Okay? They're accumulated over life experiences, get exposed to different stereotypes, implicit bias automatically rushes us to make quick decisions or judgments affecting key decisions in the workplace. Both, we often think about race and ethnicity, but there's a long list. Here are some others: age, sexual orientation, gender identity, weight, gender, physical abilities, religion, and there are many others. Can you think of a few more? It's a long list, but you can think of a few more.
Say education, there's bias.
Level of education.
Education, yeah.
I'm thinking
Or
of
lack of education, yes.
younger students, like if you wear glasses, it might.
I think weight also, but I think that's in there.
Money,
Weight is there.
money,
Socioeconomics, absolutely.
Car you drive.
The way you dress.
When you dress, some people don't like the polka dot your pinstripes. And I like you for that.
The family that you were raised in.
Well, language. Here's someone with an accent.
Disability also. I know it's not.
Physical.
And when we talked about the conscious bias, there are 78 types of bias. That's 78. Okay, but the focus is the unconscious and the conscious. There are just many things that go under. Okay, be aware of the emotions and how they might influence our actions and choices. Will help us make the invisible visible. Because that implicit bias can come out the wrong way at the wrong time, but not the right intentions. The origin of bias. Influenced by what? Stereotypes from the media, movies, TV, news, social media, magazines, newspapers. They influence how we think. Our own experiences in life, groups that we hung around, the impact that our parents had on us, or family, other adults as well. Other experiences, maybe someone early in your life, you were assaulted by an individual of a different ethnicity. And that continues to impact you well into your adult life. Where you feel like it's all of it. All of it. Observations, things that you observe over time. And we'll talk about the assumptions. We don't take the time to get to know, don't take the time to get the evidence, just make a decision about someone or a situation based on very little information. Any thoughts? Implicit bias. This is our focus today. Talk about the unconscious. Please take a look at those. These are things that sometimes we're not even aware of. Not even aware of. It's not about what we believe. Beliefs are something that we have to come through cognitive, that has to come through cognitive thinking. Implicit bias exists at a level in our more primitive part of the brain where we learn fight or flight when we are in. For instance, if a person grows up in a family or a neighborhood or a school where everyone is the same race, greatly limiting their interaction with other races. And in early childhood, one of the person's first experience with someone of a different race was negative. The example I gave earlier was an assault. No matter how many positive experiences that person may have later in life, that early experience have imprinted and may carry an eternal response the remainder of your life. That's unconscious. How do we change that?
You have to have more experiences with those people that are good to outweigh that, and that's how you change that.
You have to be perfect. You have to be perfect. Purposeful to do
Yeah.
to do just that. And that means in your space.
It is. Are we able to give experiences or?
Absolutely. This is a conversation. This is not Eric Brent's time. This is our time.
I have probably several that I can say, but I went to a school in Florida with a lot of students that were from the South, and they had never seen a Black person in person, and I'm legit being serious. So my roommate, who was from Whitesburg, Kentucky, I do not make this up, that's what the name is, super sweet. She would stare at me while I was doing my hair and want to touch it like I was a doll or a pet or something. And I had to really have like a heart-to-heart conversation with her because I'm like, we can't do this. Like, and I grew up around everybody.
Yes.
So it was very different for me. I grew up in Northern Virginia where I feel like I was more of a minority because we just had so many different cultures, right? So it was just interesting. But we became the best of friends, but I changed her experience with other cultures because, so it was a great effect by, she was like, wow, I'm so glad I get to meet you because I've never experienced anyone except on TV. That was not my race. So that was a good experience. And then I had another roommate who was from up north. So it happened, and she was from like Boston. And she said only Black girls that I ever experienced would have bad attitudes and were disrespectful, and I changed her experience with that too. So, and we became really good friends and we were roommates. And so I feel like I probably have had the opposite experience, where some people might have had the reverse, but.
You're purposeful in your approach for understanding.
Right.
Although you were offended.
Yeah.
You said, I need to get a deeper understanding of where she's coming from.
Right, I didn't understand.
And we have to get initial reaction, yes, you want to lash out, but that is not necessarily the answer. That's not necessarily the answer. Try to understand where they're coming from. And I have these conversations sometimes, and I have no idea where they're coming from. But they're sharing. But I know I need to get to them at some point to try to understand where they're coming from. Now, when I meet you one-on-one, I still may not understand. Okay, but I have a better understanding of who you are and where we need to go, and what kind of conversation I can have with you one-on-one in terms of improving your way of thinking. Any other thoughts?
I think it's about building the relationship.
Important, very important.
I know that I'm sure that we all have seen the little iceberg picture where you just see the tip of the iceberg.
Yes.
And so if you think of that as a person, what you see is just the tip of the iceberg, but what's underneath and all the layers that make that person, their character, their resilience, all of those pieces are equally important.
Absolutely, that's very important. We have to have the willingness on both sides.
Yeah.
Okay, both sides. Because this person can't be willing to do the work, and this person is fighting everything we're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And we have to be willing to work on both sides. It's not easy,
It's not,
because you're on opposite ends of the spectrum, but it has to be in a respectful way.
but it's also the business of our lives, right? And
We're
also,
gonna touch on it.
and also the context in which, in particular, this board meets. Because there's layers in our context, even relational context.
Yes.
So that's why it's so important to remember that there's so much more. And even in the activity that we just did, the walk,
Yes.
I was very surprised that Suzanne was in the middle. And I was very
And
surprised.
that's, and that, and I,
And so
it
that's
goes
a-
back to,
That's maybe a bias that I've had. I did expect her to be closer. So is that a bias? So I have to be conscientious about that. So what I see is the tip of the iceberg, so.
thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
And that's the purpose of walk.
Yeah.
Because we can spend, I've done this with groups that work together for 10+ years.
Yeah.
And they learn just that walk.
Mhm.
A lot of better conversations down the road, spend more time with each other, because they want to learn more about that.
Yeah, and to put it into context today, like I was speaking to some colleagues and expressing how fearful I am because of the war in Iran and all of that, and she's like, oh, I don't worry about that. But then I try to explain to her that I lived through 9/11 in New York, and I had family in the Twin Towers, I had friends, I have had lunch many times near or there, and so that's so palpable to me. And so she's like, I never would have thought about that context. And so when I put it into context, it was like, now I understand why you feel more impacted than other people about the current events. So I think sometimes just taking the time to explain the context to people does yield that opportunity to have that level of understanding and maybe a little bit more empathy.
And just to
Yeah.
touch on that, you have to take time for understanding. And that goes on both sides. Okay, even when you're offended, and let me tell you, it's not easy to be good. Okay.
That's the worst time.
But you have to take time for understanding, to understand where they're coming from. Maybe the intent is not what you thought it was, if you take time. Okay, another activity?
Sure. We're game.
We can stay seated this time.
Okay.
I have a riddle for you, okay? I want you to take a look at the riddle and just share with me, how is this possible? And your first thought, okay? I just want you to go with your first thought. And this is an old one.
Okay.
Use this word. That's not what it is. This has been around a long time, decades, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Whatever comes to mind.
Mom.
Others? Any other thoughts?
Well, I've seen it, so.
So you can't say anything. But it's been around.
Yeah.
Decades.
Mhm.
And I'm glad, okay, so I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You all agree? Do you have other thoughts? No one has any other thoughts on what this
It's-
possibly could be.
It could be the other father.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't get a coffee card for that.
I don't drink coffee anyway.
No, it's okay.
I mean, that's another,
That
yeah, because a lot of families, even though
You're
you're
right.
7, all exercise. Yeah.
Okay.
That was the answer I was also looking for.
Yeah, it can be either,
It used to be that the mom was a wild, answer,
was.
right?
That was the only answer for a period of time. The only answer.
And that
For a
wasn't
long
even
time.
readily available. I mean,
But-
not everybody ever
But
thought
when this
mom.
first came out,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
When it first started, they couldn't even think of mom because they couldn't see a mother as a doctor. A surgeon.
Wow.
So this thing has evolved over time.
interesting,
It may continue.
yeah.
And it's been like 6 years since I've been in a building as an assistant principal, but even 6 years ago, I had to have conversations with my staff when, say, 2 mothers showed up as the family and they were still feeling uncomfortable, or 2 males as the family. And so it's incredible that we are now thinking more in that, because we're getting closer to where we need to be in order to accept children and their family structures.
That's our responsibility.
Yes.
Every single child.
Yeah.
Every single child.
Every single child.
And the adults that support the parents, the
The
staff,
family
what have
structure.
you. Let's have a conversation. Even if you don't understand,
Correct.
even if you don't understand the situation, it's important to have the conversation. Even if you don't believe, this is public education. We have a responsibility to maximize the potential of every single child.
The other father, I would not
The
thought about the stepfather,
Yeah,
but the
stepfather.
stepfather's always.
The other thing is that we have to remember in our country, we are very blessed that we do, even though we talk about the biases, we have less biases here than other countries. Because in a lot of our Middle Eastern countries, they know a lot of things, that kind of thing is, I mean, it's a crime
It's taboo,
in some,
yes,
right?
it is a
So I
crime.
think that that's something we also, because we do have families that come here that they weren't treated that way, or women are not allowed to speak, or, you know what I mean, there's so many things. So we're very blessed, I feel like, too. Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
No, but you bring up a good point, because also if we are leaders and we have a staff that's diverse, and that is a cultural context for them, then that's why we need to be brave and well versed, so that when this situation happen and they flow from that context, we can guide them to say, it's okay, this, we can still be respectful, this is something that, you know, we value from our families are families.
We want them to feel well respected.
Yes.
Characteristics of implicit bias. We acknowledge we all have them. All have them. Not necessarily aligned, I'll declare those.
So true. It's something people don't, it's something people don't wanna talk about, though, that implicit bias against our own in-group.
Yes. Yes.
I think that's the toughest, but, well, women and so if I'm in the dark, I think somebody said, so if I'm in a dark place and it's really late at night, if I see a man coming towards my car, my instinct is immediately to make sure that my doors are locked. But it's a very different reaction, or a slower reaction, if I just see a woman walking towards my car. And so that is a bias. But it goes into also discernment and context and lived experiences. And so anyway, so I do understand that. And so when we have to live in those biases, right, that are formed by experiences and sometimes realities, you know, how do we come off in a favorable way? Because discernment is a thing, and so it's kind of a.
Yeah, we're not talking about ways to reduce
And-
and interrupt
and- yeah.
those biases. Yeah, it's important.
It
We
is.
can't allow it to control us, especially in a negative way.
And judgment and discernment are key for those times. Yeah.
I think it's context too, because like if you're just walking outside, he's running or something outside in the
It's not a
daylight,
big deal.
you're not gonna have the same angst as if it was dark. So it's just,
And this last piece, implicit biases are palatable, which means what? We can unlearn.
Yes.
We can change them. If we choose to. Now, it may take work, not necessarily easy. I had a gentleman a couple of years ago, we got the ladies, we came and sat down and said, let me tell you where I came from. And what I heard, what I saw, and when I came here to Virginia, it was an eye-opening experience. What was it? Because everything that he had heard about certain groups, exposed to and believe and realize it wasn't the truth, that he was taught those things entire life. Now, yes, ma'am.
I was gonna say, I had a student, who, did not want me to touch any of his papers or books. He didn't want anybody to touch his papers, his books, or anything. He would say, and he would tell my teacher, assistant was right, you give that to me, I don't want her to touch it. So he was just really, that was his bias. And then when, an Hispanic student came into the classroom, he told that student, you're lower than a black. I mean, that was what he said. But he came back years later and apologized. And said he was sorry for his actions when he was in middle school.
Because he educated himself over time. And they do come back. They come back and ask for books. They come back to ask for conversation. They come back and say, we're having these conversations at the dinner table now. It's interesting. You just have to open yourself to having conversations.
And I think it's also the way people are raised. I will say that one thing about my family, like we were very adamant, my dad was very adamant about not watching certain movies that were derogatory towards white people because he wanted me to not have that image and he wanted me to be able to have relationships with all cultures. And so he was like, we're not watching that until you're old enough to understand. And he would say that specifically. But if you are taught a certain way, you are going to respond unless you are taught another way in your opinion. Yeah. And it happens. And if you do watch certain things, the way movies are portraying certain cultures, you know, derogatory or whatever, or the past, you know, it's very important. I think we forget about that. That's why I think about other cultures because of the way families are raising their children. And you can't control that. And that's hard. That is a hard thing. Yeah.
I had a similar experience to yours, Dr. Jones, but as an assistant principal, I used to greet my students every morning, and most of them will give me hugs, you know, if they wanted to. They're little, it was in elementary school, so they will give me a hug or, you know, fist bump or whatever, or just chat with me. But this one little girl wanted to hug me, but her father had told her not to touch me because I was Hispanic. And she would cry to her teacher all the time because she could never give me a hug. And he went to my principal and said, please make sure she never touches my child because I don't agree with anyone being in leadership that is of that race. And so it was really hard for the student because the student was little and she didn't understand why her father wouldn't allow her to be near me or allow her to have kind of that natural relationship that other children were allowed to have.
Very innocent mind.
Mm-hmm.
Very innocent mind. I think, true enough, that can impact that. Great. The associations. Talked about the association. Doctor, back in the day, I went for female because just didn't know female doctors.
I never thought that though when you said that. I guess.
And now that wasn't my experience because you know, my father left early. My mother had to raise kids, so she was very strong and had to do it. So I knew that a woman can get things done.
Right.
And can be very strong too. So I knew those things early on. So my entire life, even in the 70s and 80s, that was never an issue for me. Some of my best mentors were female leaders. I mean, my best mentors. Because it's about good character, integrity, morals, and ethics. And it doesn't matter what color you are, who you are, what color you are, how much money you have, etc., etc. It's not a price on those things. Okay? So I always knew, I don't care how much money you have, but you got poor character, lack of integrity, morals, and ethics. It doesn't matter. You're just some money and a lot of good things. So that's just the way I was brought up. And that was consistent with his grandfather, who kept it, son, etc., etc. We were always respected. I don't care. I didn't have a lot growing up, but I didn't think better of me because you had a lot. And then when I was able to have things, I never looked down on them. I tell people now, I work with you and for you. Even in the supervisor position now, I have a job to do. In the end, I can have tough conversations with B2B because we have to be respected kids.
extra.
So the association piece, we talked about associations. And our minds, because over time, our minds are set. We just associate certain things with certain things. I don't care if it's hard to shake. It's just hard to make those changes. So I just want to do another activity. This will be the last one. Okay, the last one. Another activity. Is advised and associations. And this is easy. We're just going to deal with colors.
Okay.
And just make it very easy. Okay, but just again, our minds are set. We have somewhere in our life experiences, we have associated this with this. And it's hard to change, but we have to work to change. And this is just an example. And I'm going to go around the horn for this activity. So which side do we want to start?
Outside.
All right, Mrs. Biles, I'm just going to give you a bunch of words.
Okay, which word?
But what I want you to do for me, I just want you to give me the color on those words. Okay? Fair enough?
Yeah.
Just a bunch of words, and you're going to see some colors.
Easy.
This is easy.
Okay.
Just give me the colors.
Okay, I'll just give you the colors.
And I want you to go fast. Go.
Green, red, yellow,
Wait, you said red.
red.
I want you to give me the colors.
Not the word.
Not the word.
Okay.
No, you stopped at red. You stopped at two.
Yellow.
Which is fine.
I don't follow directions. I don't
No,
follow
you follow
directions, though.
directions. Associations.
Yeah. Yellow.
You saw yellow, but you associate red with red.
Well, because
And that's hard to change.
it is, because I didn't follow directions. That's all I can follow.
And Dr.
directions.
Jones? Real fast.
Green.
Hey, listen, I can do it 100 times.
I know that.
It's gonna be better,
It's a
but I can do it
mind
100
thing, though.
times.
It's a mind
Okay.
thing, right?
Because
She was so ready
See, you were gonna do it too. right?
my entire life, green is green.
It's green. That's what it says.
You
It's
hear it.
green.
You see
And you know what's funny? Our students who are not able to read yet, they would see the color. They wouldn't see the word.
Yeah.
Cheers to
So,
all.
we just said you.
You're gonna get through all of it.
Okay.
Okay, ready?
Yeah. Red, yellow, blue, green.
Touch
You
it
want,
again.
tap it again, tap it again. Here you go. There.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna try that.
Okay.
I can't keep pace with my point.
Red, yellow, blue, green, red, yellow.
You take it too long. Don't hesitate.
too much.
But that's good. That's good.
Okay.
Start where?
You choose to start us on.
Yellow.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
red,
No, we're gonna start from the
Okay.
bottom and work our way up.
okay. Green, blue, yellow, red, green, blue, yellow, red. Oh, green, blue, yellow, red, green, blue, yellow, red. Now there's a pattern. Well, there always was a pattern.
Good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's that. She said there was a pattern.
Yeah,
So that's easy. You got it now, right?
I think so.
All right. Start from the bottom.
Green, blue, yellow, red. Green, blue, yellow, red. Green, blue, yellow, red. Green, blue, yellow, red. But you know what? This is why I hate subtitles, because I end up reading.
Right, instead of
At the
enjoying
bottom,
it, right?
Okay.
Yes. It's so nice.
That's good.
It's hard.
Right,
So
it's hard.
figure it out.
It's a
Figure it out.
challenge.
But it's still not natural, right?
No,
No.
it's not natural.
Okay. Mrs. Brown,
Where would you like me to
we're gonna
start?
go all over. I'm gonna point, you're gonna give me color.
Okay. Which one do you,
I'm trying not to touch.
okay, green, blue, green, yellow, green.
You got it. You're the first one.
Yeah.
Hey, we need a trailblazer.
Right,
Yes,
right.
We need a two.
Life experiences.
Yeah.
You've been taught certain things a certain way, and they're hard to change. And even if their biases come out or they're expressed in a negative way, it still takes time to make sure you have them under control and can make changes. It takes you have to meet people where they are and hope the next time you get to them, they're in a better place because they're making that. Can't expect them to change overnight. You gotta be willing to have the conversation to understand where they're coming from. You have to be willing to do it. And sometimes it's not easy sitting there to have that conversation, but it's important.
Especially when you have them with the room.
Cause she should get it, cause she
She
was
went
the
first.
trailblazer.
No, but I didn't win though. It's
It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter how many cup of coffee you have, it's what you do.
Oh.
That's what I was gonna say, we can go dump it.
She's
already-
Almost at
It's
it.
what
It's
you do.
fine.
Right.
I've been forward in life. I'm
Yeah.
not saying me, everybody coming up. There are people in my life and friends in my life that had a lot. And they exposed me to those things. They shared those things with me because they knew I didn't have a lot. So it helped me along the way to overcome a lot. So, hey, you can keep getting things. It's what you do with it. Some people want to take it all, but some people want to help make others better. Now, let's talk about those risks. We talked about some of this in terms of the bias and how we control it, when they may come out and the intent. Let's talk about the individual, the factors that risk implicit bias. These are the times when that bias, that implicit bias shows up in your face. Emotions. The person angry, has anxiety, fear, or disgust, that bias can come out in a very negative way. Maybe intent is not there, but you didn't take the time to gather your thoughts, see where this is coming from. You just express yourself. Sometimes you feel bad afterwards. That was not my intent. It's not the way I went into it first. Exhaustion. You're just tired. You worked all day. You gotta make some tough decisions about some very important things. It's the mind trust here. It's about things that are happening for our kids and for our staff. You have late night meetings, and you're trying to make hard decisions.
I think when I say exhaustion for the board in particular, I often think about governance and how it just moves at the pace of molasses. And for somebody like me who is an action-driven person and who wants to see things in place, I sometimes experience exhaustion. So I think, yeah,
And so that bias may come out
Yes.
when you're not intent.
yeah.
And that's, you have to pull back a little bit, reflect, and because it doesn't come out the right way. I don't see how it's gonna help move things forward. It probably will bring us back.
And getting us involved.
And we're always looking, how can we move forward? And how we respond, the tone that we use is very important. If we're gonna be able to move forward as a team. Okay, I don't know too many departments or too many teams, that get a lot of good work done attacking one another. I just haven't seen it in my lifetime. I'm young, I'm sorry, 60, but I just haven't seen it in my 60 years. I know that's not a lot of years. I just haven't seen a team that goes back. Now, I've seen a team that had passionate conversations, honest conversations going back and forth for understanding get a lot of things resolved because they're looking for answers. I mean, there are times even in some of my teams, we have passionate conversations. And I was in a leadership role and I may have made a decision that, hey, we're not gonna go that way. But I'm driving home saying, it's a good point they made. Next day, hey guys, can we come back together? Okay, there's some good points made. We're gonna have to revisit this. This is a better way to move. Okay, when it's approached the right way. Distractions, multitasking. Somebody may be answering your emails when you're trying to do good work, not really paying attention. Here's something, response. That's stay focused. And of course, you know this. When it comes out, we have to control these things. Our job is just to come up with the best solutions possible in terms of how we move forward as a team. So these are things here, in terms of the structures that we have within, these are things you're not gonna be able to address right now. You may have a retreat down the road, say, hey, how do we move forward to make sure we're coming up with the best possible decisions and solutions for our team, for our division, for our students, and for our parents. Some of the conversations we have with departments, these will come up and say, hey, we're having a retreat, talk about some items for our agenda, et cetera, because we want to cover everything. We want to make sure we're not coming back to this situation. Another situation may come up, which is fine, but we want to make sure we're able to move forward, get things done. Have honest conversations. Have passionate conversations. So, the policies that we have in processes and decisions, the lack of processes, feedback and reflections, pressures to perform in a particular way, and the lack of diversity in decision making. Being diverse, that's not inclusive.
I think we as a board are getting pretty, we're improving on our structural societal.
Awesome. That's key.
We have a board development committee now that is documenting our processes, so it's known and there's, makes it clear to everybody. And, we get feedback and everybody can contribute. So I think we're getting better.
Awesome. And that's the goal. We just want to continue to be able to move forward.
I think I echo what Diana said, that I'm an action person, so it's been very frustrating because I feel like the lack of diversity in decision making is different here than what I'm used to. And being in leadership positions where if I saw a problem, I fixed it, let's do this, instead of having to go through like red tape to figure out how we can fix it. So that's been really tough, and I think the pressure to perform in particular ways is also a tough thing because there's certain things you can't say or certain ways you can't email someone or you can't, approach it this way. So that can be a little bit tough if you've never been in this kind of environment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
And that,
Oh, sorry.
and that social piece also, because in the past, most boards are independent, but we do have structures of political differences. So for me, it's been really tough because I come from the expectation that we were all elected to do what's best for kids. And so sometimes I think some people tend to forget that and want to perform in particular ways. And if I had a magic wand, that it would be one of the things that I would remove from the board, because I think we all got elected for one purpose, to do what's best for students and for teachers. And I think we all have the capability to do that. And if we were to stick to that, I think we will be a little bit more proficient and efficient. But that's easier said than done.
And I have to believe, until I know otherwise, that everyone that's working on this board has the right intention to do what's best for every single child. Okay, and I'm sorry, yes, ma'am.
I was just gonna comment on the processes and the policies.
Yes.
And I know that it can be difficult to understand, but the reason why we have those policies and those processes is to keep it fair and transparent, and that is a good thing.
So, and again, I'm listening to this conversation, I'm saying, oh, awesome, they're putting it on the table. This is a great retreat item to have a conversation, right? When I used to do my retreats, I would send it out to my team, and say, at the meeting, I would say, please send the agenda items, things that you'd like to discuss. Okay, again, you're not gonna always get the answer that you want, but you're gonna understand why, and that's important. Okay.
I think that they've done a good job of like when, I'm like, I'll give a response and they'll say, well, this is why. So I think we have been better about that, because for me, being someone who thinks logically but also emotionally, I do both. I need to know why. I don't like just being told no. So that has been
I think
a little bit better.
it's always important to give the why.
Yeah.
It's always important to give the why.
Yeah.
As always, have those emotions.
Right, it's gonna
It's
go
always
through
good to
that.
have that under control.
Right, that's true,
When you don't like to why.
that's true.
Okay,
But it's good
that's-
to hear that, so that
Yes.
way, you know, okay, this is why, as opposed to just being, cause you know, I don't know if all of you were raised this way, but mom will be like, because I told you so, and I would wanna know why,
Yeah,
why.
yeah, those
You couldn't
days,
question it, oh, you
I
didn't
had,
question,
I had not told you so.
oh, yeah.
And I just had
You
one way
you
thinking,
understand,
never otherwise.
don't, you can't do that with kids
Okay,
these days,
But
right?
that's not, yeah,
Right,
and
It's a little
it's
different.
not good to do that. I think we should give for
right,
understanding,
right,
for understanding.
it's true,
Yes.
agreed.
I may make one more comment too, from the individual perspective, but I think for us, it may fall on that structural society piece as a board. Because, when 4 of us came in, 3 were veterans. And so that does lend itself to anxiety, maybe fear for new members, but maybe anxiety for new members, or it's just the dynamics changed. And unfortunately, that cannot
Did
be,
you express those fears to your team?
I don't think that anybody expressed this, but I'm certain that many of us experienced those. It's not just individual, but also it's not something that can be ironed out and be done with, because right now we're going to another change. So there's 3 running, 3. And so there's a possibility.
Oh.
There's a possibility, yeah,
Yeah.
there's a
No,
possibility.
Yeah, out of our,
Yeah, so there's a possibility of 2 brand new members next year, and then resetting
Could
those
be 3.
dynamics. 3, I know. So it could be the possibility of 3 brand new members next year, so that brings anxiety, and for some people, it might bring fear. And so being aware of that, because we cannot help it out, and it just depends. And by giving people a chance and not holding biases, I think building those relationships might be the key that keeps us on the upward and not
right,
static.
And have an understanding why.
And the wise, yeah.
There, I would say retreats, I hope every year that there are certain things that you're gonna go over every single.
Mm-hmm.
Things may be in place, et cetera, but you may want to fine tune. You're gonna make changes, but, and again, you have new members on, so you're always addressing those things year after year
for
after.
2 years, we have new members,
It's like the CLTs. You
Yeah.
have a foundation,
Yeah.
you have veterans that know.
I know.
Now you have newcomers coming in, and they're gonna get the information right away, because veterans can share that, and address your fears right away.
I don't know how it is in your CLTs, but in ours, in our school, or just the dynamic, when you have new teachers coming in, they're actually easier sometimes to work with than the ones that have been there for years,
And
you
if you
know?
have if you have a good CLT,
Yeah,
if you have a good CLT with a strong foundation, when those new teachers come in, it is so easy, because it's so solid, so
Yeah.
well-oiled machine. And they're on board, they understand what they need, they understand how to support those teachers, et cetera, et cetera. But there are some CLTs that have difficulties every single year. So it depends on the CLT and the type of foundation you're creating that you build.
but I
Or
think
within your
that,
team.
I think the CLT is not really the thing, it's more of the relationships and the people that are in the CLT sometimes.
Human
Correct.
nature.
But-
Human
but
nature.
the
Because
good-
we're all different, you know?
But the good ones have those relationships, right?
Sure, and that's why they work.
They have their
Absolutely.
assigned duties, responsibilities as a team, and if you don't come, you didn't fulfill your duties, that team is holding you accountable.
Just good accountability. Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I said 40 minutes. Okay.
It's okay, this is great, and,
Yeah.
you know,
All right, here we go. Tips for interrupting this advice. You talked about some of this earlier, I believe, Mrs. Brown. Some of the ways, slow down and allow yourself time and space for making decisions. Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am. You, yes.
it's only gonna be for me, you know, just good.
And again, even when emotions come to surface, that frustration comes to surface, consider the whole picture before you act, before you respond. It's important. If we want to make a difference. if we want to be able to move forward. If you don't care about those things, yeah, go ahead and respond. I can assure you, you're not going to. Focus on facts, evidence, we talked about this throughout. Specific examples as you make decisions, the whys.
I think this is a big one too, because, you know, a lot of people have a lot of ideas or, you know, examples in their head, but if you can't articulate it, you know, even the most supportive group, you know, if they really don't know what the direction, you know, you just need to be able to give good examples.
Leaders tell me I don't always need to give the why. A tough time getting by.
That's true.
Yeah.
They're gonna always go on
They may do it, they may go through the motions. I'm not sure how you're gonna be able to move forward. And get results.
Right. Yeah. I think the slow down and allow yourself time and space before making decisions is kind of what our team did with certain things. Like we saw we were getting kind of like a stalemate, let's take a break and then come back to this. And I think that we did try to do that because it was pretty tough at the beginning, but focusing on facts, evidence, and kind of leaving the emotional piece out is, I know that's one thing I've always been taught. Like my grandma was an administrator and I would always call her for tips, and she's like, take your emotions out, what are the facts at? You know, and so that's something that's hard when you have a bunch of women because we're emotional beings, right? So remembering to stick with those things.
But you know what?
And it's
I think you saying that's women, that's a bias.
Is it
Yeah.
biased?
Yes.
You're right, that's
It's
true.
all
Okay.
humans.
We're gonna say that.
I thought she said that.
I mean, I did. I apologize. I did.
Well,
I
did you
said
say
that
women?
we're emotional beings. Well, as
Oh.
women.
Okay, I would not have said okay. Because that would be a no-no for me.
Right,
to
I
say
said that, so that is a
I
bias.
did not hear
Right.
women.
And you know what, that's an implicit, because you have that in your mind, that that's what women are. We are emotional beings that
Even
only think
unconsciously,
with
if
our
I thought
right.
that, I should not have said that. But I did not hear the woman part.
No, I did say that, thank you, Dr. Jones.
But you have said that
Many
experience,
times,
emotions.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's also too, because I grew up around guys, and I also worked better with men, just because they are this emotion, and that was my experience.
Let me say this now, men are emotional.
Correct,
They have a different way of displaying those emotions.
That's true. I guess the emotions that I've seen, I've had different experiences, and that, like you said, your bias are shaped by your experiences.
Well, let's go back
Some of them are.
let's go back to the colors.
You can give me all the colors.
You heard that?
Well, there's a lot,
Heard that?
there's several issues underlying under that little statement, because we are also assuming that emotions are negative. And in fact, I'm doing a training on Sunday about emotions, because just saying that women are emotional, that's not a negative. All human beings should be aware that they are emotional beings.
Right.
So-
Well, I don't want to give the impression that we're saying all emotions are negative.
Right.
These emotions lead to negative reactions.
Yeah, and I guess what I'm
Not
also
all emotions.
saying is that, you know how they say lead with your head, not your heart, because your heart sometimes will lead you astray. So that's what I was taught. Let me say that.
Okay.
Not everyone else. And the reason why I was saying that is because if we don't focus on facts, evidence, and examples to make decisions, and we base it on our own emotions,
Fears.
our fears, it's because my emotions are gonna be different than your emotions, and
Yeah.
so that's kind of what I think that, in my experience, I've seen men do a better job of that than we do. That's what I see. Now, everyone's experience might be different.
And what I was saying is
Yeah.
that saying that your statement is biased.
Yeah.
Even that is biased in itself, because we're given an qualifier to emotions, meaning that emotions
Oh,
might be
that,
negative.
no, definitely, and I
That's
do.
what I was digging a little bit deeper.
I got you, yep, I understand
I
that.
love to hear you.
This is good, though.
I love.
Because it's making
My
us
job
open our
is
eyes.
to make sure you go away with something new. I always like to walk away with something. I don't care if I do this 20 years. I want to walk away with something. But I like to.
And this piece is really interesting for retreat unpacking.
So, Just go over the last two.
He was low money. That's a good.
For our friends. Sometimes our friends are the ones we're coming. Not the ones that challenge us to get better. Not the ones that help us reflect on something we've said, some action should take.
I was just
That
joking, I was joking the other day because I get all these credit card, offers. And when I was younger, no bank would get any money.
Now you're choosing to give me money.
And now
That's-
I'm gonna learn you right.
That's a conversation we've had, some of our prior conversations, and that has been a system that's been in place for some time. In our society, that, it took years to get there, it's gonna take a lot of years to get over that as well. Who we choose to help,
So true.
who we choose to help.
Just having that conversation, because I have a friend that really needed help, and I was like, well, she's this and she's this. And someone said, but I'm also, what if I have a need? Like, well, you have
Yeah.
everything.
There are sometimes
You know,
that on the surface, there are people that you would think have everything that they need. You feel like you don't have to help them, they need help just as much as someone else. That's why we have to do the homework,
it's
get the facts, get the evidence, et cetera, et cetera. We cannot assume that everything's okay.
Who gets hired is a big one. I lived it, and through my skin, through my own experiences, but now I'm living it from HR perspective because now I am on interview panels and I have to constantly, retrain so that we are equitable and we come to that interview panel with the least amount of biases is we want to hire an individual, but that is a huge one for biases.
Especially here, you know, we had conversation, I don't want to bring out sensitive subjects.
Yeah.
In terms of, you know, people thinking diversity, equity, inclusion.
No,
are bad.
of course
Those are
not.
not bad words.
No,
There'll never be bad words,
Mhm.
okay? And though that was about bringing, and I'm not talking to students, I'm talking to that people. That was about making sure, bringing qualified individuals,
Highly qualified.
individuals
yes,
to the table
right,
as well. That was,
right,
That
of
of
course, right.
and on the flip side, what we see,
we want
what
to,
we see today is, okay, you say that's a problem, but you have unqualified people going into positions with no diversity over that. So it's always important to, I'm not that political. Okay? I'm not. I'm about right or wrong and treating people right. Okay? I always pay careful attention to your footprints. Okay? People alter the Bible to justify certain behaviors hundreds of years ago. Okay? So this here, if you just watch the footprint, it speaks for itself. It speaks for itself.
is that your phrase? Please close attention to your footprint.
I will say,
I'm sorry, Sandy.
Is that your phrase?
That's Eric's brain. That is not.
2026.
Yeah, that's my phrase.
Okay.
That's just who I am.
I
That's,
triggered it because
that's
I
who
really
I'm
don't
going.
like that.
I do listen. I listen carefully to what you say to me, but I do watch your work.
right,
Pay close attention to it.
I do.
Yes.
I've always done that. I want them to do the same for me, hold me accountable. I just want to make sure your talk matches your walk.
right. I love how you said highly qualified no matter what, because I only say this because I spoke to a gentleman a few months ago and we had a conversation about, he's had a lot of trouble getting hired in certain places, and it was not a person you would think would have trouble getting hired. He said, well, where the occupation that I'm in, it's predominantly a certain height, and I don't fit that. And so I've been passed over for those positions. And so people don't understand, and he's just really angry about it. And I'm just like, wow, because what I've experienced is the total opposite. But I think the bias was that everyone who looks like you gets this, but it doesn't always happen like that. And so we have to remember that, like we've said, our biases are because of our experiences, and a person's bias, we need to kind of dig deep, like why do they have that bias? And not just assume it's because they're racist or because of this or that, and really try to get to understand them as well. Because once he told me, I was like, wow, I'm so sorry you had to endure that, you know? I said, yeah, and I'm qualified and I got this, and I've been trying to apply for this job, and I can't get it. And I'm like, wow. And I wanted to say, well, I've experienced that, but on the other side, so, yeah.
My son Marco experienced that in the Netherlands because he wasn't, you know, a Dutch. He was a Dutch. And, but they explained to him that when they do hire an American or somebody from outside the country, they have to do a lot more paperwork. And, but he is employed now,
Okay, that's
and
good.
he's, you know, on a student visa, and he's,
That's great. But
But-
that's interesting that he learned that.
Mhm.
This is why.
yep.
Yeah,
And it helped him understand, you know.
right. Yeah.
Can I make one more comment about who gets hired?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
I think also we face systemic challenges for that, because it's not just looking for the highly qualified candidates, but getting highly qualified people, highly trained people in those interview panels. And so I think that's where we fail systemically.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I've noticed that a few times.
Yeah. And having a lot of people.
Please.
That it might have been a different result if we had different
Highly
people.
qualified people
Yes.
on the actual.
Yes.
And
And-
diverse, inclusive.
Right, and not just, you know, you have one person, you have several people on that
We have
team.
to train and retrain and continually train. I remember when I was younger in a system with 86 schools that was mostly Caucasian, I was told many, many times that, you know, they put me in this school because I was a better fit to that community, or that I fit better with that culture. And so I always challenged them to say, how do I add value to the culture that you didn't want to send me to? And so I work for Prince William County Public Schools now, and one of the mottos is looking for people who add value. So they have me at that slogan. But because that's really important. It's not about fitting in the culture, because then you say implicitly that culture is the best culture. And I think when you bring human talent, you have to be open to improving the culture and continuing to grow the culture. So when you look for people, you need to be sure that those people can add value to that culture, not just fit in.
I like that. That's a good thing. Having value.
No, that's okay, that's okay. Where you live, step out outside your comfort zone.
Oh my God. People think I'm rich because I live in Sumner Lake,
Well,
in Manassas City.
I will tell you guys a story. Okay, so
I'm putting that out there, I'm not rich, but people do believe I'm rich because I live in Sumner Lake.
I just remember as a child, my dad, like when we would be in certain parts of where he grew up, and then we would come back to where we live, and he would lock the door. He's like, we're not there. You don't have to lock the door here. You know, like it was an assumption that we live in a safe area, so no one's gonna break up into our car, you know, like, so I think that assumption's there too, that depending on who you live around or what area it is, that it's more safe than other areas.
I still to this day, 60 years later, have a habit of checking to make sure my doors are locked. My car door is locked, drives my wife crazy.
Right, she's like,
Wow.
why do you do
Because,
that?
where I grew up, the things that were happening in the neighborhood, and things you could hear outside of your window, it's just a habit. And I can assure you, my neighborhood is very safe. Okay.
Yeah, I just was asking, when you said where you live, I also think about how I know at one time we brought in so many teachers from Pennsylvania. And
Yes.
many of them had never been associated with black students, they may not have been associated with Hispanic students. And so you had to kind of it's kind of a learning experience for them.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure that they weren't, like you think, like this one person used to always say in service, don't say you pull the baby, but you gotta teach, you gotta teach the standards, and don't assume that they can't learn or they don't know something just because of who they are and what you've seen on TV. And I know when my son was looking at colleges, we went to one in Pennsylvania, and this one student, he was a senior. He said he did not see an African American until he got to college age. And he was just from some small town in Pennsylvania, but I think when you bring teachers in from other places, you have to consider what do they know about the students that they're teaching, and are we equipping them to teach them the quality standards? And
that gentleman, the situation I was talking about at the very beginning about a staff member sharing where they came from and what they're not exposed to and what they're told, et cetera, is from Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
And he shared that story, and you talk about his passion for these kids from the city. It's just it is unbelievable. Continue to work to try to find answers for these kids because they believe they can do it. And I know they can do it because I've experienced it in my career as well. People said they couldn't do it. And sure, I can. Can I do just the general ed? I can do the AP. I can go into college, et cetera, et cetera.
I really had participant teachers. I had a participant teacher that I worked with, and a couple years ago, and she, signed the contract and everything, and she comes, she's like, I didn't know no one spoke English. Like, none of my parents speak English. They didn't tell me that this was the type of school I was coming to. And I was like, wow, she's like, I wasn't prepared for this, and so it was a real learning curve, but she loved children. And so the parents loved her. Like, she was like a beloved teacher, but it was very hard. It was a culture shock for her, especially being in Jamaica where you have no other culture really, depending where you are. Mm-hmm. But I think it is, like you said, Dr. Jones, to really train our teachers, or at least give them PD or something where it's similar to this for them, for students, for teachers who don't have that experience.
Yes. All right. Reducing bias.
That's what we need. I mean,
and it starts with these conversations, whether we're having it here, whether you're having it at a retreat, whether you're having it in a closed session. It's just making sure we're educating them. We're open to learning.
I've already messed up the second one, but
we have. You haven't. You said
I already messed up the second.
Listen, this is
Safe space.
none of us.
Yeah.
They say brave space. None of us are perfect. None of us. None of us are perfect. And again, if you do, someone should call you on it. Okay? So, but that's okay in a very respectful way.
Right.
And then we have a conversation about it.
Right.
About why. That can happen to any of us. Do not generalize. All boys are, all girls are, all women are, all men, et cetera, et cetera. Diversity. Studies have shown over time, more we're exposed to diversity, less likely we are to make stereotypes. So step outside of your neighborhood, go to different events. If it's uncomfortable for you, it's okay. It's okay. Resiliency. And this one here, always respect, challenge, respectful way for understanding why you look at it this way. If you're considered this, et cetera, et cetera. That's the only way we're going to be able to teach as a school. We're going to have different opinions. We have different experiences to bring to the table. The great thing about a lot of different opinions, experiences, we put that all on the table. There's no question we come up with the best product. If we welcome all of it. Okay, we're not going through emotions. We're having hard conversations. these opinions and experiences, best possible solution. And I'm telling you, the end result would be, is going to be a very positive intent.
But I think that,
And, sorry, just-
sorry, no, I think that two thoughts I had about, I don't think I'm ready to talk about discrimination, but challenging microaggressions. We have to be able to understand and unpack what those are. And typically, in my experience, when I challenge those microaggressions, then there's a bias, an automatic bias or a label given as being combative or being disruptive or those kinds of things. So I think this is a very impactful statement, but it is one that will require, just on the microaggressions, it requires a lot of unpacking in
So,
order to be able to make progress on that.
So if you're challenging and someone feels that you're coming across in that manner, there needs to be a conversation to kind of get an understanding of why that may be happening, why that's coming from. Okay? Because you also have to be open to their perspective as well, in terms of what they're seeing. If you want them to be open to yours, you have to be open to theirs. Like I said, sometimes you're going to be on the extreme opposites. How do we get here? Now, if we start here, how do we get here? Before we get here, how do we improve that situation? We have to be open. It doesn't mean the conversation is going to be easy.
All right.
It doesn't mean you're going to be satisfied with the outcome. But you can walk away with an understanding of the person's intent. Just like they should walk away with an understanding of your intent as well. All right. And with that, I am sure you are tired.
I'm not.
Okay.
It's good. I'm not.
I think,
It's a lot to think
I
about.
do say, and I do say this after every conversation, Cheers Paul and the team, you decide how you're gonna move forward this conversation, how you're gonna use it. If I could be of any help at any time, please don't hesitate, pick up the phone. Okay, but thank you.
Thank you so much.
How's the prep committee going?
The task force is,
Yeah.
I am pleased with the conversations that we're having, the groups that are involving in the conversation. And I want to talk about the folks, the parents and students. They gave us enough feedback that a focus for next year of things we may have missed over the years that we need to focus on. And that's what that's all about. That's why you have to have those voices. You don't have to like what you hear, but you gotta do something about it. Okay. And so we do need to report back. We have subcommittees on the task force. And they took a look at the feedback. We narrowed it down to about 6 for each question. And the entire task force in April to talk about some of the things we will focus on for 26, 27. Okay. And we will continue with the PDs for our staff. We'll continue to have these conversations with the executive cabinet, our departments. We have a meeting next week with the Department of Instruction, scheduled on the 17th. That's still happening. And then we have a task force meeting in April, I believe it's April 21st. And I'll meet principals the next day. Just on we have to continue. I just feel this standard 6 covers a lot, and if you get a chance to take a look, if we get standard 6 right, it will take care of every single standard. Just take a look. Okay, so it's not easy work, but if we get that right, in my opinion, it's one opinion. Okay, it's one opinion. I think we'll get it right. And standard 6 is hard. We talk about every single child. Every single child having those conversations, the update, the staff meeting, our data conversation, our data dialogues, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not saying it's easy work, but we have to continue to have the conversations to evolve over time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
This is
you.
really great.
I said 40 minutes.
Can we recess for 7 minutes?
Oh, okay.
No, thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was really good. Very good. Enjoyed it. It's nice to meet you, finally.
Very nice.
Yes,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. Mrs. Brown, Mrs. Miles, very nice to meet you. That's the first time I've been
It is. Yeah.
Likewise.
And
And nice seeing you, Dr.
She was.
Yes.
Did she say 7 minutes or 5?
She said 7.
Okay.
You just took the time off.
It could be summer, but it doesn't have to be, you know, but I mean, I think question one is, would you be able to help us, you know, do a deeper dive, number one?
Yeah, I would say yes right now.
Okay,
Trying to get understanding of exactly what
right.
deeper dive into the body, or deeper dive into structure.
I mean, I think that as long as we're keeping,
And
You can talk
you
about
don't,
that later.
right, you don't have to make that.
Yeah.
As a team, you tell me what, yes, I would always.
if we say we like you as a trainer,
I'm just a part of the
if we want
conversation.
more
You have a
Dr.
menu
Yes,
of
you know.
different programs that you can.
A topic to, there's
Yeah.
a lot of topics that fall under this,
Okay.
there's no question about it.
Okay.
So I would always say, I have never said no to that, unless the date.
Yeah, no, but I mean, this is kind of, a good step forward.
Okay.
This was, you know, we have had some other trainings and it wasn't all, it didn't all have the same outcome. So if we decided that we like Dr. Brent and his style,
Oh,
can we work with Dr. Brent?
We're specifically requesting.
Well, okay, I mean, we can both think about it, but I can get some more feedback from these guys, but, you know, if we wanted, I just wanted to know, in your bag of, I don't wanna say tricks, but.
Oh, no,
In your
this-
bag,
these
in
are
your
just
deep bag, vast
conversations,
bag
real
of
honest
knowledge.
conversations.
Conversation.
Yeah,
These
yeah,
are real honest conversations about how we move.
yeah, okay, great, well then, we'll be in touch tomorrow or the next day, like that.
Thank you.
Dr. Brand is not available on the 17th of June.
Yes.
Yeah, he's traveling.
Yeah.
He's available on the 18th.
I think I fly back in on 17th.
Yeah.
And I think I can back down.
I think that, you know, we probably.
But you said not the retreat.
Probably
You
not,
said
but
not the retreat.
maybe, you know, our own, we might still call it a retreat, but not that retreat.
Okay, no, that's perfect.
Okay, thank you, thank you very much.
Have a great evening, ladies.
You too. All right, Chair, take us away.
Okay, so again, I'm just talking about ongoing, you know, topics here. This is something that you guys would be am I understanding correctly? This is something you guys would be willing to open up your calendars and say, I want to pick a day to work on some kind of a deeper dive that is something in the neighborhood of further board development.
Sure.
Okay.
And probably on a day that we're off. So don't take off for it, but.
Well, and.
But I would
then-
like to do.
we-
Yeah, in summer, good.
Okay, so, it would probably be something that would be, you know, maybe closer, maybe here. But, you know, and it doesn't necessarily have to be 8:30 to 4:30, but it's, you know, something, but, and if I can get some kind of a menu of topics from Dr. Brent, would you guys like to see that? And then
Yes.
that'll be the day that we
Yeah.
say, here are 3 potential things that sound good.
Yeah.
And here are 5 days that he could work with us.
Yeah.
Then we can maybe say, yeah, that'll work.
Yeah. It's gonna be important that we get everybody's schedule.
Yes.
Yes, so everyone can be in attendance. I think, especially since we have to work together.
Yeah.
As a team.
Mhm.
I mean, it'd be one thing if we were doing things on our own and, you know,
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree, and I'm
Yeah.
pleased to hear it, so I'm highly motivated to make it work, but, you know, how we're gonna do it, those are the things that I guess we'll look with, but just the understanding right now is we're not trying to add anything
Right.
at this point of that depth and,
Into the current.
into the current.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how we
Okay.
put it.
Right, well, I think that's great. And I'd like to invite everybody to Dunkin' Donuts, and we can maybe have a hot chocolate or a coffee one day soon.
yeah.
Um,
I have $10.
We can't do that, Jill.
What? What?
We can socialize.
Oh, yeah, well, one-on-one, I guess. Well, we could probably we could do something, we just couldn't talk about work. We could let our hair down for a cup of coffee.
All right.
We are allowed to socialize, just not, I think.
Maybe we should have a discussion
Just,
topic.
it's some talking to school board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are your
Talk about the
vacations?
weather and stuff.
Right?
Yeah, send us a list of acceptable topics
Okay.
to discuss.
Okay, well, or everyone can enjoy from Dunkin' Donuts and.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll call it a impromptu Dunkin' Day and everybody brings a coffee to the meeting.
Okay.
I have some cute little cards, discussion cards.
I would
Yeah.
love that. And we can play loteria.
I can bring
that's
a
fine.
ADM, yeah, it would be fun. Meet me at Dunkin' and we could, no, we're not meeting.
Right,
I think it's good, like cards that are insightful, that get you to talk about things, is good.
Get to know
And
each
maybe you
other
can bring
better.
those to the retreat and we could just kind of throw them around one night if we're just able to.
We used to
sit
do
around.
that, like,
Yeah.
at dinner time.
Yeah.
Did we do that with you guys?
I think we talked about topics when we were at dinner, like at the restaurant, but it was just random. All of
Okay.
us were like conversating, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so,
In a lunch.
Dunkin' may or may not work out for all of us, but everybody enjoy.
Yeah, but I like bringing it too. if you want to.
We'll think of you when we buy it done.
There we go. Okay, so I think, is it time to move on to our continued discussion of speed of trust?
I think so.
Okay, and so, Diana, would you like to lead us off
Mm-hmm.
with this conversation between 95 and 128?
Yeah, give me a moment to get my notes. All right, so we were looking at, capabilities. And are you relevant from page 95? If everybody's there. And so, hold on, because I took my notes. So when we talk about capabilities, we go directly into skills and what you do well. And sorry. But the whole thing about this chapter is that he talks about can you actually produce results? And some parts that I really like, because I just have this acronym on my wall for my staff and for myself, is the tasks, where it's not just about getting things done, but using your talents to get those things done. It's the attitude, like somebody talked about their grandmother, but my grandmother always said, do everything with love. So it's your attitude towards that task, it's the skills, and your knowledge behind how you get those tasks done, and it's your style. And the style piece is the piece that makes you unique. And so when you do the thing that you do, even if somebody else does the same thing, it may look different, because that's the piece that I like about this acronym on page 97. It's your style and your uniqueness. And so that's, for me, that equals to value. And so that was one of the pieces that I took away from this particular chapter about capabilities.
So do you want us to go around the table and just talk about?
Your piece, you took away if anything. And it's okay if this wasn't, it didn't resonate with you, but this particular page on 97 did resonate with me.
Anybody want to go first? Want me to take a stab at it, or does anybody?
Go ahead.
I had two that I really liked. If you don't like change, you're gonna like irrelevance even less.
What page?
Page 106. I thought that, it's really interesting, and just on multiple levels, resonated with me right now. But what I really liked also was, just on the top of 112, you can't create a high trust culture unless people perform. I think that we're really working hard here to build a team, but, I think the thing that's gonna make us come together the most is having some results that we can all stand behind.
I
And
agree.
so, I'm really excited about, the school reports, and, learning about the new academic textbooks, and watching, the things that are happening in ESOL. All those things are just, I can't imagine as a new-ish board member, being in the beginning of my second year and seeing all these things kind of come together, that, I think that you guys have to feel different about us than you did a year ago, just by seeing the quality people that are just, pouring their hearts and souls into what we're doing every single day. And things like Dead and Jimmy Dean coming together are, you know, really powerful things. So I like that. It's, you know, it wouldn't be a direct quote unless people perform, but to me, you know, unless you're producing something, and I think that we're getting there. Where as a team, we can say we did this. I think that's
If I can make a connection, Chair, on that page 113 too, with results. I think I thought about the alt ed program because we promised that and we delivered on that. But you're right, there's so many other things, including the EF program that we just discussed at the last meeting. We promised that, and you guys did the heavy lifting prior to our arrival, and here are the results. So I think as a board, even though we say we're doing, and people don't see the tangible results, our credibility as a board, as an effective board, does get stained. So I think telling that story and highlighting and elevating the things that we are doing will build that credibility. So that results matter.
Can I add on to that?
Yes.
Page 113, again, about results. And I'm gonna change some of the words in here, okay?
Sure.
Let's see, the whole experience seeing the effect that the results had on our relationship with our city council as they saw us reaching milestone after milestone during those period of time, producing, hitting the numbers, increasing the margin, increasing the cash or funding as we had committed to do. We could see their confidence in us grow. They began to see us as a good risk. They significantly increased our funding amount again and again and again. They wanted to give us what we needed to succeed.
Oh, that was a great connection. And kudos to city council.
Yeah.
I listened to that.
What a wonderful
Yeah.
body.
But
Yeah.
no, I hope they hear that, because I think we take it for granted too that they too need to hear, you know, descriptive positive feedback, because they're doing hard work as well and within strains of their budgets and things. So, our thanks to them. Thank you for elevating.
And I was kind of like on the same page.
Mhm.
I had like, what is your track record? So,
What
and
page, Dr. Jones?
112, 113.
Okay.
Yeah, what is your track record? And I just I saw a T-shirt the other day, and it says it's not what you say, but it's what are your actions. And so I think it's really important that when I shouldn't use the word judge. When we think about what people do, kind of look at what have they done in the past, what are they currently doing, and then from there we decide, can we trust them to do what they said they're going to do in the future for us. So I thought that was really important. So I think we want to look at that track record of everybody, ourselves and other people in the city, and we want to make sure we have a good track record. Okay, so some of us not be concerned what other people do, but do we do what we said we're going to do? I think that's important.
I'm hoping that your suggestion of the book, the highlights for the year,
Right.
like the state of the schools, whatever report, I really hope that brings some attention and people celebrate us a little bit.
Yeah, and like the adult classes, you know, that would be great to add to that. Yeah.
I just think a year ago, you know, we all had things that we wanted to do for the schools, and we all had a pure heart, you know, if you will. But if you asked us what our mission of the board was, you know, we would have all said 7 different things. And as we start to have these common experiences where things are things that we're together watching progress, you know, I think that maybe our story will come a little bit more in line, you know, and it doesn't have to be this one thing, but you know, and I think I talked to you about this in the parking lot the other day, but if our mantra became, it's our job to catch people being good, you know, it's a very small, simple statement, but if we all said that, you know, when people said, what is your mission as a board? It doesn't have to be that's just an example, but you know, I mean, if it rolled off the tongue and it was encompassed, you know, a large enough goal that it still fit, you know, what people kind of wanted to do, but to me, that's kind of what it really is, but we just weren't there a year ago. But now, you know, we're seeing these things, and what I think I like in what you said too, I don't know the exact phraseology, I think you wrote it down, but what Dr. Brent just said about watching their footprints.
Yeah.
Pay
Right.
close attention to your footprints.
Yeah.
Results matter.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, I think the only constant here on this board, any board, is gonna be change. And so we know we're rolling into another person or 2 people or 3 people. And, getting ahead of that and realizing that, board development matters, people feel isolated, the way that the job just is more isolating than you think when you're out campaigning, It's just, you can't, 5 years in, I just tried to have a party. And it's not that we couldn't, we could, make our own rules and we could say, but it's a little facetious to make people think that we can just get together and talk when we want, And it takes time, it takes effort, and, I still believe that we can get there, we can build that team, and we can show people that 7 women can produce results, 8.
Yeah.
That's like, unless.
Yeah, I saw the one line that said, what made them want to extend more trust results. And that was similar to what you're saying, right? As we give those results, the council, even the community, is going to have more trust in our schools because they're seeing different things. And we're highlighting those things, because sometimes we don't highlight as much, but when we do,
And just this concept of assuming best intentions, there are times when I think that you come at a problem and, Chair Seaberg, former Chair Seaberg, was great about, I see so many things that you guys ask or say or do, that I asked or said or did. But, she kind of helped me when I was newer, understand, to look at the big picture and to, assume best intentions. It's so easy to pick, well, what about this?
It's easy to criticize.
Yeah.
But it's more
But when you
challenging to
really
build.
do try to catch people being good, it's pretty, first of all, it's very fulfilling. But second of all, it's a little, you have to dig a little deeper than just trying to find what's wrong. Because anybody, every single one of us, somebody can find something wrong with us. Nobody's perfect. But
We
I
used
think,
to tell teachers, come with the problem, come with the solution.
yeah.
We may not like the solution, but come with it.
Right. And as a volunteer,
It's true.
that was definitely what I always tried to
love
do.
that.
You know?
Yeah, that's the way to go, right?
Because you just show up and tell people what they're doing wrong. That's not gonna lie.
Well, and then it becomes a complaint session as opposed to problem solving.
Yeah.
Like, we have this problem, well, how can we solve it,
And that's, neither here nor there about the book, but I appreciate that the book keeps us kind of grounded and again, it's just a common theme that we can talk about.
What's our next assignment?
Yeah.
Can I close with 117?
Yep.
Page 117, because I think it's important to say this part, the what and the how, those 2 pieces are really important. So we are getting the work done, and I think we were being efficient on that end, but I think the how was getting in the way, or was continuing to get in the way of this board. And I think that right now, by having this training, by doing the book study, by attempting to build relationships with each other, the how is gonna get easier. In Fairfax, I had some team members that were young moms, and 3 o'clock was their hard stop. And I watched their time like a hawk because I wanted them to go home at 3 o'clock. And so they value so much my intentional effort to be respectful of that when they were there from 7:30 to 3, they gave me 1,000%. But it was because I always will tell people, no, this is how we're going to do it. And so I was always mindful about getting the result, but I was very intentional with the how. And I think that I believe we're making steps towards improving the how as a board.
I think we're all putting in the work, and I appreciate everybody for doing that, and I think that when you put in the work, it's gotta eventually pay off, maybe it's like losing weight, people don't notice right away, and then it's all of a sudden, you're just like one day, go, wait a minute, something's different, and so I think we're getting there, and people are gonna know something's a little bit different.
I know the saying that practice makes better, not perfect. You know how people say practice makes perfect. No, practice makes better. So I think as we practice the same correct agreements, teamwork, and all of that, we're gonna get those results, and it'll be a better team.
And I'm trying really hard to give the whys, sometimes it might be with a typo, or it might be done quickly, I don't know, like, again, progress over perfection, but I am trying to listen, and I think, everybody's doing their best. And I think that, we need to continually thank each other for doing that, because, it's just not an easy job, and there's really, I don't think in Manassas, maybe other places, but we haven't done a really good job of explaining to candidates what really happens.
No.
I don't think people get it.
They don't, until you're here in the thick of it.
But when you're in the thick of it, you start to get your why, and you start to understand, and you start to just find new ways to create more time, because everything is important. It's all equally important.
I have ideas for that, but I'm saving for retreat.
Okay.
We talked about it.
Yeah.
We talked through it.
All right, but
All right, so the next assignment is the 13 behaviors, and this is the meat and potatoes of the book. Because if we learn this 13 behaviors, or we master a few of these behaviors, our trust reliability will exponentially increase. So, we could do, it's page 130. We could do the first 5 behaviors.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
Get more of a chunk.
Uh-huh.
To 156. Oh, no.
So it's 130 where the 13 behaviors begin.
So
And
177.
yeah, to 177.
Okay.
So on the
And what is the work session? Are we allowed to ask about the 2 different dates now, or
I mean, it was the March 26th.
Yeah.
They have that email, so that correspondence about providing any feedback. I haven't heard from anyone,
Okay.
except for one person.
Okay, so there are 2 upcoming, potential work sessions. I think we definitely have enough, to fulfill one of those 2 dates, if there's an appetite to do both, but there is a reminder that the 26th of March is right before spring break. So, I just don't know if people are gonna just it's only the Thursday, it's not like we're asking them to stay on a Friday, but just if people are just kind of mentally done by the 26th. So we have it set in our calendar. You guys have an email that you can respond to. We don't have to discuss it here, but there's an opportunity to do just one in April or 2. And the one that we would add then would be the 26th of March, if we want to do that.
I mean, Thursdays for me are already slated, so.
So the next 2 potential ones will be March 26th or April 16th. So,
Now, if we wanted to make a little bit more progress on the reading, we could split the behaviors. Like one board member can take behavior 1 and 2, another board member can take behavior 3 and 4.
I think for those of us that want to, read the whole book, there's no reason not to.
Okay.
I think we can have the freedom.
Yeah.
If if for some reason somebody just wanted to scan it, it sounds like you've given them the freedom, to just pick one. But I don't
Like
think
today, we did 2.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. I mean, we're getting through it. It looks like we've got some other books in the queue. So, I mean, I think that it's back to this irrelevancy, we're trying to keep ourselves, focused together, and,
I think you're gonna find this next part really, really meaningful. These are, I'm still.
okay, so, is there a motion to adjourn?
Yes. Chair, make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Okay, so I heard from, Ms. Brown, seconded by Dr. Jones. The motion to adjourn, is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries 5-0.
Yay.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Have a good night. We still can't quite